Edition of Lakers Talk starts right now.
Here's Alan Sliwa.
What is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys tuning in. 1 hour of Los Angeles Lakers basketball. Thank you for hanging out. Offseason. Was it 2 weeks ago Lakers were eliminated? Obviously, a lot of storylines, a lot of question marks around the Lakers. Who's going to be their next head coach? What are they going to do in the offseason? When will Bronny James be a Laker? I feel like that one's pretty much already wrapped up. All right, I'm joking here a little bit, but we got some updates on that front as well. There's a lot of good stuff, too. Brian Windhorst talked a little bit earlier today about what he expects LeBron to do. Shams Charania of The Athletic was talking about how much longer he thinks LeBron's going to play. So certainly a bunch of different angles. Brad Turner covers the Lakers, and the NBA for the LA Times is going to join us in about a half hour or so. A couple updates. You know, one of the benefits of doing the show at this time is there's still playoff games going on. 25-16, Dallas up on the Thunder. They're up 9. Boston already took a 3-1 lead. We know Indiana and the Pacers and the Knicks tied 2 apiece, and then Minnesota and Denver tied 2 apiece. How about those last 2 games from the defending NBA champs? I got a lot of NBA stuff I want to get into as well. All right, Lakers to start their head coaching, start contacting head coaching candidates. There was an article this morning, Adrian Wojnarowski and Dave McMenamin. Lakers are expected to start contacting coaching candidates in the coming days with an initial concentration on sitting assistants and ex-head coaches with whom they have less familiarity, sources told ESPN. I wrote down basically all the names that I could see here. J.J. Redick, we know, is a name that's been a candidate. We've heard his name being thrown around, has zero coaching experience. Not telling you that he can't do the job. I'm telling you that he's yet to do the job on any level, assistant coach or a head coach. Chris Quinn, an assistant coach for the Miami Heat. James Borrego, an assistant coach for the Pelicans. Kenny Atkinson, who's with the Warriors. And David Adelman, who's part of the Denver Nuggets staff. So a bunch of different names out there. It does not sound like the Lakers, no matter what they end up doing, probably not going to go with a veteran coach. Now, you could look at Kenny Atkinson and say, okay, well, you know, he's been a coach in the league before. But I don't know what direction the Lakers are going to go in, but it doesn't sound like they're going to be grabbing a veteran coach who's won an NBA championship as a head coach. We saw the news come out late last week. It was Friday. I want to say Travis and I were doing our show, and the news came out that Mike Budenholzer is first, Frank Vogel got fired, and then immediately there were reports out there that Budenholzer was possibly going to replace Frank Vogel. And whatever you think of the move, I'm not trying to break down, you know, if that's the right move, but clearly the Phoenix Suns had a plan. We are going to fire our coach. Here's the coach that we're going to hire, and they were going to move on. Completely different for the Lakers. You know, they fired Darvin Ham a little bit over a week ago. You called a week and a half ago. And now we're kind of starting to get some of the names that the Lakers are going to go after. But this was not one of those, Darvin Ham is gone, and we already have who's going to be our next head coach, or we already have an exact game plan. We'll run through the motions, but we already know exactly who we're going to get. And it also, I think, points to the fact, I think, not a coincidence here, the names that you did hear that could potentially be tied with the Lakers, Jason Kidd immediately gets an extension. Ty Lue, everybody's expecting him to stay with the Los Angeles Clippers. Any big-time names that you did like out there, Mike Budenholzer, okay, he's gone. He's a coach that has won an NBA championship. The process is going to be interesting with the Lakers. It will. I feel like if you said, okay, you got to guess, just a complete guess. Again, this is based off of nothing. This is just literally a complete guess. I feel like the J.J. Redick thing has enough steam. What was the term? Woj had put something out that the Lakers are intrigued with J.J. Redick. I feel like that one's got enough momentum, and it sounds like something that the Lakers would do. And here's what I mean by that. It sounds like something the Lakers would do. They've tried a bunch of different coaches over the years, whatever style you want to talk about. Frank Vogel, who had a ton of experience, okay, they've done that. Darvin Ham was an assistant coach for a long time, was a former player, but gave him his first coaching job. Luke Walton was on the staff of the Golden State Warriors, and there was a time, if you guys remember, where Steve Kerr was he had health issues, and Luke Walton stepped into that role and did what he did. It didn't obviously work out with the Lakers, but he had his opportunity. Byron Scott, former coach and experience in the NBA for a number of years, or a former coach and a former Laker, that didn't work out as well. If I had to just kind of literally just make a guess here of what the Lakers are going to do, I feel like the J.J. Redick thing, I don't feel like it would be out there unless there was some, obviously some real rumors towards it. So I think the J.J. Redick thing could be interesting. The one thing that I'll say to that is, how are we supposed to know how he would be as a coach? I have no idea. So it's tough to give, much emotion or opinion towards J.J. Redick because I don't have anything to work off of. I was actually just listening to something. Stephen A. Smith on his personal podcast, YouTube stuff that he does, had Doc Rivers on there. And I clicked on it because this was probably about an hour ago or so it just posted. The question, Doc Rivers, I guess J.J. Redick has been critical of Doc Rivers in the past. And it's interesting what Doc Rivers said. He's like, yeah, that guy has, never agreed with me, or he didn't like me because I wasn't giving him playing time when he was a Clipper. And he circled back around and he said, I hope, because this is a question Stephen A. Smith asked. Stephen A. Smith asked something to the extent of, would you like to see J.J. Redick as a coach? Or maybe it was, how do you think he would do if he got a coaching role? And Doc Rivers said, I'd love for him to get a coaching job so then he could realize just how tough of a job it is, because J.J. Redick has been critical about Doc Rivers, or has been critical about other coaches. And he tells a story that there was a time that he had a disagreement with Pat Riley, and until he actually got in the role of a head coach, then a couple years later he called back Pat Riley and he's like, okay, hey, I see where you're coming from. Now it all makes sense. And maybe that perspective that Doc Rivers had of Pat Riley, he didn't have the proper perspective until he became a coach. J.J. Redick is a name that, obviously everybody knows, and those rumors are going to continue to tie around the Lakers, and I can't sit here and tell you whether it's a good hire or not. It's also not my job to do so. That's up to the Lakers front office. What I will say is, obviously they've been through a number of coaches over the years. You really, really hope that they can get one of these coaches that we could be sitting here, well, I don't even have to say 5, 6, 8 years from now. How about 4 years from now? That we're sitting here and we're saying, hey, that coach is still the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Because it hasn't happened. In the last 13 years, nobody's lasted more than 3 years. So you certainly haven't been able to gain any equity. You certainly haven't had the opportunity to grow as a head coach, to grow with the organization, to grow with the fan base. We're just kind of literally just recycling these coaches left and right. Whoever they do end up signing, and this article that came out that Lakers to start contacting head coaching candidates, hopefully it's something done sooner than later, that they find a candidate that they like, so then they could start that entire the rest of the process, which is the offseason. I know free agency doesn't start until July 1st. I know the draft we still have a little bit of time for. I know there's certain players that can make a decision. I think Braun's decision is June 29th, where he could make a decision on what to do with his contract with that player option that he has. But I'd rather have a coach and play sooner than later. Hopefully the Lakers are picking a coach that's for the present and for the future. And hopefully we're sitting here 4 or 5 years from now. We're not talking about 2, 3 different coaches over that time, because I think everybody would agree that does zero good for the Lakers. It does zero good for the organization, and nobody wants to see the Lakers keep recycling coaches. I mean, even Frank Vogel won an NBA championship. Wasn't safe at his job. So that just kind of tells you what some of these expectations are here with the Lakers, whether fair or unfair, but enough just pointing the finger at the coaches. Front office got to put somebody in the right position that they feel like is going to be that head coach for years to come. As much as people wanted to point the finger at Darvin Ham this past year, and you're not wrong. I mean, listen, I agree. There were a lot of times that I kind of hold my hands, I put them on my head and be like, what is Darvin Ham doing? But at the same time, it's the front office that hired Darvin Ham, so that's their responsibility. So just as much of it's the responsibility of your head coach, it's also the responsibility of who put you in that position, and that's obviously on the front office. Okay. I'm going to throw this question out to Laker fans. I'm actually curious to get people's opinion on this. and I'll reiterate what my opinion is. I did a little bit of it last week, and I'm happy to do it again. Laker fans have an issue at all with drafting Bronny James. You got an issue with drafting Bronny James with that number 55 pick in the second round. Remember, there's only 60 picks in the second round. I tried looking just because Travis and I were doing the show this morning. I tried looking, and I kind of had some curiosity. All right, give me some second-round players that were drafted maybe a little bit later that panned out. Looking at names, it was like Paul Millsap, Manu Ginobili obviously on that list. Nikola Jokic is a great example. He was selected in the 40s. And listen, for every all-star caliber player they're going to take, and let's take Nikola Jokic out of the way because he's on a path to being one of the greatest big men to ever play the game, so we're going to leave him alone. But I only bring it up for a couple of reasons. I bring it up because the perception of drafting Bronny James, I feel like it gives off a perception to me. And I think most people disagree with me on this, but my perception by drafting Bronny James, it's like, geez, I mean, anything else you want to do for LeBron? I mean, talk about having the keys to the franchise. I mean, okay, from at least what we've been told, that Bronny James is not exactly – I don't think anybody's standing out there and saying, hey, forget the 55th pick. That dude's going early second round. Watch out for Bronny. That guy might be a late first rounder. I don't think I've heard anybody say that. I saw an article earlier today, and I'll play some stuff for Brian Windhorst, but that's on some different things. The interest of the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm going to read something that came from Brian Windhorst's article. Lakers could target former USC Trojan and son of LeBron, Bronny James, in the NBA draft. He was on Get Up when he talked about this, so that was a little bit earlier today. Here's what he said. He said, if the Lakers have an opportunity to draft Bronny James, they will do so, whether that's with the 55th pick or if they make another deal around the draft or another pick. I think they will try. I do not think it's going to be their top priority. Of course, why would it be your top priority? I think that would be – I mean, Lakers also have a number 17 pick. If they were using that first-round pick, obviously, to draft Bronny James, that's a completely different conversation. I think they're going to be using those picks to try to improve the roster and see what they could do, chase for a third star. As Rob Pelinka said after the trade deadline, they have a potential of 3 first-rounders that they could use this upcoming summer. But is using that pick at number 55, is that a big deal to go out and get Bronny James? Or is it not a big deal at all? And could this just be the cost of doing business? Hey, if you value LeBron James and he's still playing at a high level, then you know what? Just accommodate to LeBron because you don't want to – if the water is calm right now, let's not make that water choppy. There's no need to do that. I kind of sit more on the other side of, all right, but what if there's another player that you like at 55? What if there's another player what if Bronny James just isn't, guys, no, he's clearly not developed enough to be taken in the second round. Look, if the guy goes undrafted and you want to bring him in and he's an undrafted pick and he's part of the G League for the Lakers, okay, cool. I don't think that's too big of a deal. I'd also say that it's nice how the Lakers have how they've developed Alex Caruso, how they've gone out of their way, developed Austin Reeves. Like, I think it's important to use some of these picks a little bit later, or guys that go undrafted that you develop and see if they could become real NBA players. And I think Lakers actually have done a pretty good job doing that and identifying it. I feel like by drafting Bronny, there's this, again, this is my perception. It's basically, here's the keys. You tell us what to do, and we'll get out of the way. It's funny, when I have this conversation in the morning, Travis like, it's not that big of a deal. It's a 55th pick. Who cares? I think for me, it's more I think it's the perception that it gives off. I think it's more the principle of it. The principle of, yeah, I understand. So, okay, so do we just give away second rounders because nobody wants them? Is there no value to second rounders? Or is the argument as simple as this? If the best player still on the Los Angeles Lakers, the second best player on the Los Angeles Lakers, wherever you want to put LeBron, I mean, he's still doing it. If he wants that player, even though it is his son, will it be a little bit of a sideshow? Yeah, it will be a sideshow. You have to just accommodate to the stars. So when we come back, we'll spend a little time on this. I kind of find it I find it interesting in another way, and I think, what I've said before, I think the concept of drafting him, to me, it's more about the principle of it. It's, where's Bron going to go? He's not going to go anywhere. Let's not forget that even though Bronny James, okay, let's just assume that he's got a lot of upside. At USC, he was 4.8 points a game, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists. So I don't think anybody is sitting there saying, watch out for Bronny James because he's going to come in the NBA and really do some stuff. Lakers Talk is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Rush into your neighborhood Valvoline. Let the expert technicians make sure your ride is in peak performance. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for locations and game winner coupons. All right, if you want to be a part of the show, 877-710-ESPN. Brad Turner is going to join us in about 15 minutes or so, and I'll get his thoughts on that as well. We come back. I also want to spend a little bit of time on what do we think the Lakers should do with D'Angelo Russell? What does D'Angelo Russell want to do with the Lakers? We'll get into that as well coming up next. Stay right here. This is Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN. All right, is your vehicle due for a service? I got the perfect solution for you. Perfect solution. Check engine light comes on. It's time to get your car serviced. You got that sticker, upper left-hand corner of the windshield, and it says, all right, you're at your mileage. You went 3,000 miles, or maybe your car's 5,000, whatever it is. Head into your neighborhood Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Home of the 15-minute drive-through oil change for over 30 years, Valvoline has provided quick and convenient automotive maintenance services for busy people just like you. At Valvoline, you stay in your car, while the expert technicians make sure your ride is in peak performance. Oil changes, tire rotations, transmission care, and more. Just pull up, drive in, and drive out in about 15 minutes. Go visit SoCalOilChange.com for locations and game-winning coupons off your next Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
Sliwa, an
Off-season edition of Lakers Talk is on.
Should some of the blame fall on the ownership and on the front office? Of course it should. Rob Plank has a lot to do with the construction of the roster and who's on the team and everything else. So Darvin Ham, it's not all on him, but he had blind spots as well.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Proudly founded by premier physicians in partnership with Hoag. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today. More Lakers Talk with Sliwa rolls on.
Back to Alan Sliwa.
All right, BT, Brad Turner from the LA Times is going to join us in about 10 minutes. I want to take a quick call here. Ja'Cory calling in from Santa Ana. Ja'Cory, what's going on? Appreciate you calling in.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, as far as Bronny James goes, he only scored 5 points this season playing for USC. I think he's going to be a little resentment if the Lakers pick him up. He really didn't put it down in college, and they're just going to pick him up because LeBron wants him to be on the team. Another thing is, if we're going to have LeBron and pay him all that money and have his son, we might as well say that we're really not trying to win championships and that we're just trying to sell tickets. As far as Russell goes,
yeah, go ahead.
What was that? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go do the D-Lo stuff.
Huh?
You're good to go do the D-Lo stuff, and I'll
okay, I'm sorry. And as far as Russell goes, I wouldn't pick him back up. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, he was cool. He put up numbers. He shot a lot of threes, but when it came down to it, he didn't do what he needed to do in the fourth quarter. And we need somebody that's going to really close games because LeBron can't close them no more, and we all know AD is not going to do it.
Appreciate you calling in. Thanks, Ja'Cory. Okay, let's start with the Bronny stuff. I think what you just said about the perception is going to be if Bronny James is not let's call it an impact player. I don't think anybody's assuming he's going to be an impact player. I haven't heard one person talk about the basketball side of things. I haven't heard one person say, hey, but he's coming to the Lakers because here's what he can do on the floor. Of course nobody's saying that. You want to know why? Because I don't think anybody believes that. And can that potentially change down the road? Sure. But he would be coming to the Lakers because his name is Bronny James. It's the only reason why he'd be coming to the Lakers. And the resentment thing I think is interesting because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there saying, come on, what does it matter? It's a late second rounder. I'm going to continue to go back to the perception. If the Lakers aren't winning, if next year the Lakers aren't healthy like they were this year, if next year the Lakers again are fighting for a play-in spot, all those little things are going to add up. You're going to be like, what are we doing here? Right? I think the Lakers, was there a little bit of bad luck this year? I think there was. Did they put up a good fight against the Denver Nuggets? They did until it got tough, and Denver's like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and finish the game because that's what we do, and you guys just aren't talented enough to do that. You think it's going to be easier next year? We're watching Minnesota and Denver, which has been a really, really good series, fantastic series. I picked Minnesota to win that series. When Minnesota jumped out and won the first 2 games, I'm like, the series is over. They just won 2 games out on the road. And then Denver comes back. They followed up with 2 more wins on the road. It's 2-2 now. That's probably 1-2 in the Western Conference. Whoever comes out of Dallas and OKC, I don't think is going to represent the Western Conference. But think about how many talented teams there are in the NBA. Lakers got a long way to go. And if we don't think valuing late second rounders or just the perception of saying, well, let's just go get Bronny James because LeBron wants it, can't blow up in the Lakers' face, I think that's a misguided thought. That's the best way that I can put it. Okay, I'm going to hit on D'Angelo Russell here because I mentioned that was going to be a conversation. Yeah, I'm very curious of what happens with D'Angelo Russell, and I feel like, could be wrong on this, but I feel like there is a lot of Laker fans that fall in kind of a similar opinion of Ja'Cory from Santa Ana who called in. Now, I'm okay if D'Angelo Russell, if he moves on. Now, you need some things to go your way. Funches here did a really good job of just breaking down some of the different options that D'Angelo Russell has. He is expected to decline his player option and will most likely become a free agent. If you guys have, and I'm sure a lot of Laker fans have spent time looking at D'Angelo Russell, and we all kind of know he has $18.6 million player option, and can become an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Very curious to see what happens to him. Here's D'Lo. D'Lo had a really good year for the Lakers. He averaged 18 points, 6 assists, shot 41.5% from the three-point line this year. If you told me that's what D'Angelo Russell was going to do before the season started, I'd have signed up for it right away and said, okay, hey, let's roll. But unfortunately, I think for the Lakers, and I think unfortunately for D'Angelo Russell, that's not good enough. They need more from a number 3 guy. And the numbers, I think, say one thing, but the product on the court, when you're watching on a night-in, night-out basis, I think there was a lot of times that you could say, yeah, I don't think D'Lo's the guy. LeBron's only going to be a year older. Anthony Davis played 75 games. Is AD going to play more than 75 games next year? Probably not. So you're going to be depending so much on all these other role players to contribute. And I think the bigger question here is, what does D'Angelo Russell want to do? D'Angelo Russell put up some of the best numbers that he's put up, and here we are still talking about, maybe you bring D'Lo back, maybe you don't. It's D'Lo's player option, not the Lakers' team option. That's up to D'Angelo Russell. I wouldn't be surprised at all if D'Lo declines that player option and then goes out into the open market and goes and takes a deal somewhere else. Even if the Lakers are offering the same exact deal, I wouldn't be surprised if he just said, nah, I'd rather play for a different franchise. I've already done that twice over there. The fan base is probably never going to appreciate his skill set. By the way, I think I'm one of them. And yeah, I think when push came to shove, I did have my doubts with him in the playoffs. In the playoffs, what you needed was a consistent D'Angelo Russell. D'Lo was never consistent. There were other players that weren't consistent as well. I thought Austin Reeves wasn't good in the first 2 games. I thought Rui Hachimura was basically a no-show the entire series. You couldn't really depend on any of the other players on the bench. But D'Lo, as important of a piece as he was in the regular season, I didn't know what he was going to give you game to game. He's going to go 6 of 20 from the field, or he's going to hit 7 threes. He's going to give you 0 points in a game, or he's going to give you 21. I had no idea what he was going to give you. And the Lakers, unfortunately, don't have that luxury. But I'll say it again. This is not technically up to them. It's going to be up to D'Angelo Russell. And the best that the Lakers can do if D'Angelo Russell does not want to stay a Los Angeles Laker is some type of sign and trade, and we'll see what eventually happens. Okay, I'm going to ask Brad Turner about D'Lo, LeBron James, all this stuff when we come back. So stay right here. This is Lakers Talk on 710 ESPN. All right, Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Talked about them a number of different times. Great partner here on 710 ESPN and great partner here on Lakers Talk. Lakers Talk is brought to you by Valvoline. Go rush into your neighborhood Valvoline. Let the expert technicians make sure your ride is in peak performance. I've given out the website before. It's SoCalOilChange.com. Go out there and find the locations, game winner coupons. I use the location out here in Pasadena. Incredibly convenient. Don't procrastinate on your car. Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
Yo, LA, what?
with Alan Sliwa.
An off-season edition of Lakers Talk rolls on.
6 coaches in 13 years. That does not give me confidence that the next coach that the Lakers hire is going to be the right coach.
Lakers Talk is presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. When pain keeps you from doing what you love, Hoag Orthopedic Institute gets you back to you. Proudly founded by premier physicians in partnership with Hoag. Visit HoagOrthopedicInstitute.com to get the help you need today. Another edition of Lakers Talk continues.
Back to Alan Sliwa.
I appreciate you guys tuning in. Off-season edition of Lakers Talk. As always, you guys know a great friend of the show, hops on frequently, a part of the pregame show a lot of times as well during the season. Want to welcome in Brad Turner, covers the Lakers, the Clippers, NBA for the LA Times. BT, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Man, Alan, I'm doing great, man. You know, things are good these days, relaxing a little bit, watching some basketball, and waiting to see what the Lakers may do.
Okay, let's start with this just because I think we're all doing this. The last couple of weeks we've been watching the NBA and some of these different playoff series. I want to get your opinion first on the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I think we were all excited about that series just because we thought these are, at least in my opinion, I think these are the best 2 teams in the Western Conference. So we'll see how it plays out. Coming into the series, did you think Denver or Minnesota?
I thought Denver.
Okay.
And I thought it could be a really tough, perhaps even a 7-game series, which is still can be. But until the defending champions are knocked out, I always go with them.
Okay, completely fair. When Denver goes down 0-2, did you think it was over?
Not over. I knew they were in a tough position, but you have to understand champions know how to win.
Sure.
They know how to take their games to a different level when other teams just don't know how, and Minnesota's that case because they're young. I didn't expect them to blow them out in one of those games or 2 of those games, but I did think that it was possible because we saw it done before. I go back to the Houston Rockets with Hakeem Olajuwon, Robert Horry, those guys, down 0-2, but they came back.
Well, here's what I think is fascinating with the series. First off, it's just good basketball. I mean, watching Minnesota blitz the Denver Nuggets for the first 2 games kind of show their depth, their length, their size, their defense, all of that. This is what the Minnesota Timberwolves do. Watching Anthony Edwards just in front of our eyes, a 22-year-old superstar, I think nobody's questioning that this guy is going to be one of the best players in the world for years to come. But I think BT, down 0-2, watching Denver do what they do, and not even though Minnesota is as excited, that fan base could be as excited as it is. You got 2 games on a Friday night, on a Sunday night, and Denver just quietly doing what they do. It's pretty damn impressive to watch. So that's been a fantastic series there. I look at, when I'm going to try to tie this back to the Lakers, if those are the 2 best teams in the Western Conference, and we know Lakers obviously lost 4 games to 1. Watching this series, does it encourage you or discourage you? Let me tell you what I mean by that. Do you feel like the more that you watch these 2 teams play, does it feel like the Lakers are further and further away from actually competing for a championship? And I'm not saying make it a close run or be in a playoff race, any of that stuff. If these are the 2 teams that are you can argue are the 2 best in the Western Conference, just as you watch the playoffs, do you feel like the Lakers are further and further away from that and it's only going to get more difficult, or are you encouraged with what you've seen?
Well, I'm going to say it gets more difficult because OKC is a young team. They've got talent. They're getting experience. Minnesota is a young team. They get an experience. And then you have the Lakers that are in there that are a little bit older. But let's not forget that Dallas Mavericks really are a young team besides Kyrie Irving. And here are 2 teams we can't forget about. The Memphis Grizzlies will be good again next year when they get Ja Morant back. And Houston's coming on. So the bottom line, in my opinion, is the West becomes 12 deep. And how do you get into the top 10 when there's that many good teams? That is a big, tall task for them to deal with. And all I can say is that we'll see. And LeBron's not getting any younger. I mean, there is some nights where he can look like the superstar that he is, and some nights he looks just like, or let's just say like a star. And I think they need him to be a star on most nights in order to compete in the West.
BT, do you think there's a scenario out there that LeBron's going to have a decision to make? He's got a player option. Is there a scenario that would play out where you think LeBron would decide that, he kind of dodged the question about playing his last game with the Los Angeles Lakers? And I don't feel like there's momentum that LeBron is looking to leave L.A. and he wants to represent a different team. But is there a scenario that would play out where LeBron's not representing the purple and gold next year?
I'm going to say no. From everything that I've been told and have read and heard, he wants to return for the Lakers, but he wants to do it sort of on his own terms, which is either a 2-year deal, maybe a 3-year deal, maybe he gets an option, maybe he gets no trade clause. But I just don't see him leaving the Lakers. I think he stays here in L.A. and he finishes his career playing for the Lakers. I mean, other teams will look and try to see if they can pry him away. Some teams may even try to draft his son, Bronny, to see if that lures LeBron James away. Either way it goes, I think LeBron James will be a Laker.
I agree with you. I do think that there's this is what LeBron has always done. He's always had that flexibility. Obviously, the Lakers right now are without a head coach. I'm sure he'll have some type of input on that. What the Lakers do in the offseason as far as personnel goes. And you and I were both there when the trade deadline happened, and Rob Pelinka was addressing all the media members and saying that, hey, in the offseason, he talked about at the trade deadline, you can't buy a home that's not for sale, but in the offseason, he is going to have 3 first-rounders to play with. So I get the leverage that LeBron has with the organization. And here's the bottom line with LeBron. He's still really, really good. So it's not like we're talking about a player that's averaging 12 points a game, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds like he probably should be going into his 22nd year. But that's just not the case. That's not – LeBron has been incredible and still shows his value, not just during the regular season but also in the playoffs. And I'm not even talking about the business side. Certainly shows his value there as well. If you believe that he's going to be a Laker, and I believe he's going to be a Laker, do you feel like there is pressure for the Los Angeles Lakers to use that number 55 pick in the second round if Bronny James is available to draft him? And how much do you think that is in play of, you know what, there will be pressure, and if he's available, then the Lakers are going to feel pressured into taking him?
Yes, there's some there. But a smart team like the Lakers are, make sure that you draft the best player available, even at 55, and someone you think can fit into your program. If that's Bronny James, and if his dad is still playing for the Lakers, then, of course, and you're smart and you think he can develop into a really solid player for the Lakers, then you make that move. So is there pressure? Of course there is. There's pressure on the Lakers always to make the right draft picks, to get the right free agents, to get the right coach, to make their stars happy. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem, Magic, all those guys wanted to win championships. So, yeah, there is pressure there. And there's inherent pressure for the Lakers to win another NBA championship.
So, BT, with that, let me stay on the Bronny thing here real quick, because I don't think that he can be drafted using one of your picks because of the reasons that you said, other than you're accommodating to LeBron. And listen, I'm with you with the first thing that you said. As a good organization, they're not just wasting picks to waste picks. They obviously, there are a lot of players that have been drafted late. And I'm not telling you, I don't know what that percentage is. I'm sure there's a strong percentage that late second-rounders don't work out. They don't make it to the NBA. They end up playing overseas or something along those lines. But I don't really care what those percentages are. I agree with you that good teams say, No, everything. The G League is important. The development is incredibly important. Every one of these players. Two-way guys are important. Summer league is important. All this is important to building the right team and structure and everything else. But if I haven't seen, and I think it's interesting that you brought it up, the chance of another team drafting Bronny just to kind of see, hey, does that lure LeBron James? Let's just say hypothetically the Lakers don't take him at 55. And let's say another team did take him. I know there's been more reports about this, but the influence of Bron wanting to go play with some random team that took Bronny James, I don't feel like that would happen. Do you feel like there's any chance that LeBron would look at that and say, okay, well, I want to go play with my son that much. I'm going to go play with a team that's probably a lottery team?
You know, there are a lot of ways to look at that. Let's just say it's a team that's now in the playoffs that decides to draft Bronny, and then they think maybe that helps us get LeBron. Well, they don't have a lot of money to get him. The Lakers can pay him the most, other than, let's just say, Philadelphia or a team like a few teams that have salary to do that. But any team that's had a chance to win a championship, which I'm going to assume LeBron James still wants to do, they can only pay him the mid-level exception, which is about $10 million. Is he willing to take $10 million for perhaps a chance to win a title with his son? Does he want to stay with the Lakers and make $50 million and maybe still have a chance to win a championship? Those are things you're looking at. If it's a lottery team and he goes there, then LeBron James is only going to play with his son, not to win a title.
BT, Brad Turner covers Los Angeles Lakers for the LA Times, joining us here on Lakers Talk. BT, we saw about a week and a half ago, Darvin Ham. I don't think it was a surprise that let go of his job, lasted 2 years with the Lakers. We've heard some of the other names that have been thrown out there, and there's some reports here that Lakers starting to contact some head coaching candidates. I've heard J.J. Redick. I've heard Chris Quinn, an assistant from Miami, James Borrego, Kenny Atkinson, David Adelman. No real big names that I just threw out there. One name that seems interesting, or at least to be catching people's eyes, is J.J. Redick. What are your thoughts of the coaching candidates out there, and is there a coach that just through the years and your personal relationships that you think would be a good individual for the opportunity?
I mean, there really isn't a former head coach out there that you would think of. Maybe Terry Stotts, his name has come up. I had a chance to cover J.J. Redick when he played for the Clippers. The one thing I do know is that he's a very highly intelligent young man. And I used to joke that, of course, you would sport, but he's someone I think has a high basketball IQ. If you were to hire someone like JJ, for example, or even an assistant coach, you have to make sure he has a strong staff behind him, a staff that has been in the trenches, perhaps even a former head coach on your staff, something Darvin did not have. But you need someone that knows the ins and outs from the very beginning of how to run a practice, how to give the guys days off, when to call timeouts. All those little things matter. How to run a film session, how to do all those things, how to travel. I mean, it's a lot that goes into trying to coach a team, how to work with personalities and characters. And it's a hard thing to do, and that's why I'm glad I'm not Rob Pelinka. He is being paid a lot of money to make this decision, and I wish him the best of luck.
That's a good way to put it right there. I like the wishing him a good luck there. Okay, BT, I'm going to throw you with one more here, and I appreciate your time as always. Some reports out there that D'Angelo Russell, is expected to decline his $18.6 million player option and become an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Would you like to see D'Lo back with the Lakers, and just your thoughts of whether you think he'll return to the Lakers under a new contract, or he'll try to go find a different place to play?
First I'll start with, I'm not sure of how much a market there's out there for D'Angelo Russell. So based on that, I would think that if he decides to opt out of his contract, which has been reported, that the Lakers probably should look into trying to re-sign him and try to make it a friendly enough contract that if they want to try and trade him during the season, they can. Something they looked into last year. But it all comes down to the D'Angelo Russell want to return to the Lakers. That becomes the bottom line. Lakers fans,
BT, do you think he does? I would get it. I would understand if he's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. You know what I mean? I would understand if he does, and I probably think there's more Laker fans that would be okay with that now.
Yes, they would.
They would need a little help here. Maybe a sign-and trade is the best way to do it. But do you think he wants to return?
I don't think he does. I think he's put up with Laker fans, twice now. His first go-round didn't go very well. He was viewed as, basically as a snitch. And even now, he's viewed in those terms to some degree. He's viewed as someone that doesn't play much defense, is too cool out there at times. But one thing he can do, he can shoot it. And when he's going good, he's very good at doing that. But when he's not, what else does he provide? There are times where he's very good at running the offense and has thrown some nice passes for assists. But Laker fans, man, the ones I know that just aren't big fans of D'Angelo Russell, it'll come down to him. What does he want to do? Where does he want to go? And is there a market out there for him?
BT, great stuff, brother. Thank you very much for doing this. Appreciate you doing it in the off season. I know you're busy running around, handle your stuff, but thank you for taking the time.
No problem, my friend. I'm glad one guy's not here, Michael Thompson.
Well, thank you, BT. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will pass that over. I'll communicate that to MT, okay? All right, that's BT right there. Brad Turner of the LA Times. Okay, when we come back, we got crunch time coming up. Funches got a couple NBA stories here, and I'll get you guys some updates on some NBA scores. Stay right here. Lakers Talk, 710 ESPN.
Join your Angels for every
Lakers Talk.
When the clock is ticking and it's all coming down to the wire, you know what that means.
This is crunch time.
Funch is going to throw a couple NBA stories my way, and me, Funches, and DeAndre are going to talk a little bit about it.
What's up, Slee? Here's Slee and producer Michael Funches.
What's going on, Funches?
Nothing much, man. Playoffs starting to heat up, right?
What do we got here? What's the latest here? You got the game on there?
The game.
What's the latest
It's
score?
we got. I think Dallas is up right now. They're up 2-1 on the series.
All right, let's see the score here. 54-43.
At halftime.
Mavs up 11 at half.
Yeah.
Not a surprise there.
Yeah, Boston won earlier today, beat Cleveland, took a 3-1 series lead. Tomorrow we have Indy and New York again, and then also Minnesota and Denver.
Minnesota, Denver. Series amazing. I'm still kind of shocked that they just walked into Minnesota and just like it was nothing.
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that the road team won, two and on a home team,
No,
but
that's how all four
But Anthony
played out.
Edwards, oh my God, he's the next Jordan.
Yeah, he's okay.
I'm not going to say Jordan, but I mean, he's in the mold of that player.
Can I ask a question? And both you, DeAndre, you could chime in as well. Why are we so? Because this has been going on. And I heard Anthony Edwards say this too, that he absolutely hates the Jordan comparisons. Why are we doing that? Like, is that the guy's 22?
The moves are like Jordan-esque.
So why don't we just say, let's be more specific on it. Let's just say, instead of saying he's the next Michael Jordan, who's considered by many the greatest to ever play the game, why don't we just say, hey, I love the way he dunks like Jordan, or he glides around the basket like Jordan. I don't know. I mean, we're asking a 22-year-old and basically saying, hey, you know that guy Jordan who's won 6 championships? You remind me a lot of him.
He plays like a young Jordan, Al. He plays like a young Jordan.
The young Jordan I like. I like when it's described that way. It's like, hey, a 22-year-old Anthony Edwards plays like a 22-year-old Michael Jordan.
He does.
That I'm okay with. Yeah, that I like.
I mean, the whole thing started because they think that Michael Jordan is his father.
Oh my God! Don't even.
Right
this is not the show for that.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Okay, what do you got? NBA?
All right. So Stephen A. said this on ESPN this morning. He said this.
But here's where Mike Wilbon didn't go into the details that all of us covering the NBA are fully aware of. Kevin Durant in Phoenix is a problem. It is a problem. We don't see it because the stats are there. Him and Booker average 27 points per game and what have you. But they say Kevin Durant is never happy. They say that he went more than a month without even talking to the head coach. They say that he doesn't look happy there. And all he wants to do is play when the game starts and tip-off time arrives. But when it comes to ingratiating yourself with your teammates and getting along with everybody and stuff like that, he just lives in his own world.
Yikes. So I asked you guys, what happens with KD? And before I even, throw out the question, me and Sedano were talking last week, and we think that he should go to OKC. I think OKC should make like a Godfather offer for him. They got the picks. They got the players. Kevin Durant can also kind of redeem his career a little bit, have his last dance in OKC where he started it. So what happens with KD this summer,
I don't
guys?
hate that. Here's the one thing I'm just asking. First off, the organizations he's played for since he left the Oklahoma City Thunder, okay? Golden State is, I would think everybody would agree, it's a good organization. They know what the hell they're doing, right? It might not look good today, but I don't think anybody's arguing that organization doesn't know how to win. He played well there. Brooklyn had no idea what the hell was going on, and I did think the players basically ran the organization, which was not good. Phoenix doesn't look like they don't know what the hell is going on. It looks like the players are running the organization, and it's not the organization that's running things. I think if he goes anywhere, and I think Phoenix should look to shop him, they're not going to win a championship. They're just not. You're not going to win a championship with those 3 players. I don't know how you're going to trade Bradley Beal, and you're probably not going to trade Devin Booker because he's too young. KD's the only one that you're going to shop. If he went back to OKC, the only confidence I would have for Kevin Durant, because KD, his resume is not looking nearly as good either. The only confidence I have in OKC is they're an organization that knows what they're doing. There is structure. Maybe that's a good fit for him. But does OKC want to do that?
I don't know.
Do
What
they
if I
need to do that?
What if I just said, if I'm Phoenix, what if I ask OKC for Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, and maybe 2 first-round picks?
Okay, here's my question. They don't have to do anything. They could just keep doing what they're doing for the next 5 years. And, they're a couple games away, and I don't think they're going to make it. They could get to the Western Conference Finals. DeAndre, what do you think?
I mean, they just hired Budenholzer, right? I mean, that's the reason why they brought a veteran coach like him in to see if he can fix the problem over there. So, I don't know.
Vogel was what? Vogel was a veteran coach.
Yeah.
Vogel was a veteran coach, but you can see
had a championship.
You can see the camaraderie of that team. It just wasn't it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Maybe that they think Budenholzer is the reason, he can fix the issues.
Yeah, I don't really have – I heard somebody say earlier today they thought it was a lateral move. I agree that I don't think Phoenix is going to be in the mix. Just like the Lakers right now, which I think the Lakers' position's better than Phoenix. I'm not telling you that the Lakers' position's great. But how many different teams are getting younger and better in the Western Conference? So that's something to keep in mind. Thank you, Funch. Appreciate you throwing that in there. Okay, so every Monday night now that the Lakers season is done, we're going to be doing, obviously Lakers talk here. So we're back to our original time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Something else happened, and we only got a few seconds left here. 20-year anniversary. Derek Fisher, 0.4 game winner versus the Spurs. I think everybody remembers that. I'm sure every Laker fan remembers where they were. I was working at a sports station in San Diego. We were down in downtown when that happened. I think everybody's going to remember that. Shout out to Michael Funches, Mario Ruiz, DeAndre Hawkins, and Cody Lou. LA, as always, appreciate it, and we'll get back with you guys tomorrow morning.